Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to carry today's show. We're going to start out. We're going to have Alex Marvez from NFL Sirius and All Elite Wrestling. Covers the NFL as good as anyone. He'll be joining us at 8:10. Then we'll have JC in the second portion of today's show. We'll do our Peachland Dentistry weekend picks and talk a little college football. If you missed it last night, the Braves lose to the Dodgers, had a chance to close it out. I think it goes back to Atlanta now. The Braves are up 3-2. And in the NFL, the Browns beat the Denver Broncos, who have lost 4 in a row, 17-14. And in college football, the Raging Cajuns barely beat a bad Arkansas State 28-27. SMU is ranked 21st in the country. And in a couple of weeks, they're going to play Cincinnati, who's ranked number 2. I actually think SMU can beat Cincinnati. I mean, they got a high-powered offense run by a former Tanner Mordecai, a former Oklahoma Center quarterback. And the guy that calls the plays for SMU is Lincoln Riley's little brother. So SMU is going to give Cincinnati all they want. FAU beats Charlotte 38-9. And San Jose State keeps the running Rebels of UNLV they have not won a game, 27-20. And tonight there's a lot of high school games. But let's see, in the state of Florida, the Central Knights, UCF Central Knights, the Golden Knights host the Memphis Tigers. I guess and then there's a Pac-12 game tonight. Arizona, who has not won a game, hosts Washington. So that's kind of what happened in sports. Also, the NBA's cranked up. If you're an NBA fan, they play a lot of games. I don't really care about the NBA until the playoffs start. Don't forget, here in a few minutes, we'll be joined by Alex Marvez. If you have any NFL questions, please shoot them his way. Does a tremendous job for NFL Sirius. John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, I went and picked up Dearness Johnson right before the game last night in fantasy. Talk about a steal. John, you're a wizard then when it comes to fantasy football. I didn't realize until I looked last night. I had no idea. My kicker is the kicker for the Browns. He didn't score a bunch of points, but I'm going to get just murdered in fantasy this weekend because majority of my players are on bye weeks, and there is nobody to replace them with. So it is what it is. If you got any questions for Alex, make sure you can text them to us on the Titan MR text line or shoot them to us on Facebook Live because he, as I said, he does a tremendous job on NFL Sirius. Still, I had to do a bunch of shows last night for some people around the country. You know, the big talk obviously is all about Florida's defense, Todd Grantham. I believe Coach Mullen said, I didn't see the presser, but the people on the show I was on, they told me that Coach Mullen has come out and said there were no changes will be made during the season. Doesn't mean changes won't be made at the end of the season. But like I told you people, y'all want Anthony Richardson to play. I get it. Nothing wrong with that. Y'all may want some other guys sitting on that bench to play on defense is all I'm saying. People can complain about Todd Grantham, but players have to make plays. So we shall see. Matthew says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. Not sure if you talked about this already this week, but what do you think about the articles about Mullen and even some of his higher level assistant coaches don't like recruiting? I think recruiting has been a big issue. It's been a big topic ever since Dan Mullen was hired here. You know, I don't know what makes a person a good recruiter. I don't know what makes you convince a kid to come to your school. I think if you look around the country, majority of the top-notch players, there's about 5 or 6 schools that he's going to choose from. and those 5 or 6 schools have been playing in the 4-team playoff for the most part. So until you start winning, and as I said, I think the facility being built, which will be done probably, maybe April. I don't really know the closing when they're supposed to move in, but that will help. That's not going to solve all the problems. Georgia just moved into their $80 million football facility, and I saw a thing on Twitter. It was a good looking thing. So, I don't know what makes you become a good recruiter, but we've got to do something. I saw and I know a bunch of people follow recruiting, but we have one player in the top 25 players in the state of Florida committed to us. Only one, I believe, where FSU has 3 or 4, I think. So John says on Facebook Live here, Ben Troop suggested last night Marquand Manuel for defense coordinator. I kind of like that idea. What do you think? I don't know. I know Marquand was I don't know if he's still coaching right now. I know he was with the Falcons for a while and the Seahawks coaching. I don't know if he's coaching anywhere. The question would be, you people talking about recruiting, he's never had to recruit anybody. Not saying he can't, but he has no experience being a recruiter out on the trail. And so I don't know I think he's a really good coach, but like I said, I don't know where he's coaching now. Maybe somebody can look that up and let us know. Marissa wants to know what made me come to Florida. I narrowed my choices to Florida and LSU. There were no good facilities back. Actually, Florida State probably had the best athletic dorm, the Burt Reynolds Hall, when I came out. That made me think really hard about Florida State, but it came down to Florida and LSU. I don't know why I picked Florida, quite honestly. Then I've heard this name here. Cliff wants to know, what about Jeremy Pruitt for DC? I don't think there's any way the University of Florida hires Jeremy Pruitt with all his baggage, all his issues with the NCAA. There's a big lawsuit getting ready to happen with Jeremy Pruitt at the University of Tennessee. So I don't see that at all. And then Scott says, go after Coach O for defense. He's supposedly a good recruiter, but he's got a lot of baggage. I don't see them hiring him here either. We got a couple of texts here on the Titan MR text line. We wait for Alex Marvez. One of these texts is for Alex, so I will save that. This one comes from Daryl. He says, Shane, is Matt Corral going to play for Ole Miss this weekend? Good question. I would plan on him playing. I don't know if he's going to be what Matt Corral is all about, because he is coming off. I don't know how serious his injury was. If he doesn't play, Luke Altmaier, who is a very highly touted quarterback, who's a true freshman from Starkville, Mississippi, Lane flipped him. I can't remember where he was. I want to say he was committed to Georgia, maybe, and I could be wrong, but I want to say Lane flipped him. Good athletic player. But yeah, I think Corral plays. Wouldn't surprise me if LSU makes that a very good game. Joseph says on Facebook Live, what about T-Rob or Will Muschamp? Will Muschamp, protege. Yeah. I don't know where T-Rob's coaching right now. Possibility. I know he's a very good recruiter. And then Chris asked on Facebook, well, why didn't I go to Ole Miss? Well, my dad played at Ole Miss. My mom's a cheerleader at Ole Miss. I grew up being an Ole Miss fan. I don't know. It's no different than, Gator fans don't understand why some kids who played or their parents played for the Gators, their kids don't come to Florida. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I don't feel like it's a good fit for them. But we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by a guy that knows the National Football League pretty well, Alex Marvez. Good morning, Alex. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm old enough to have covered you as a freshman at the University of Florida. Actually, it might have been your sophomore year back in 1990. And I got to cover you for a little bit with the Miami Dolphins as you picked up a few paychecks along the way. So good stuff, Shane. Great to be with you. So proud of your success and always great to be on the show.
Yeah, Alex, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Obviously, you're a busy man with your NFL Sirius radio, and then your All Elite Wrestling commentating. Let's jump right into the NFL. I want to get your thoughts. As you said, you covered the Dolphins for a long time. Gosh, they're 1-5 right now. Just lost to the Jaguars. I mean, is Tua going to be their quarterback or not?
That's $1 zillion question, right? And no matter what, you got to wonder, Shane, is the damage done? I mean, if you're Tua Tagovailoa, you just passed for 300-something yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You had your team on the cusp of victory. If and there were a couple things that ended up happening in that game on the defensive side of the football for the Dolphins that cost them dearly. You got to wonder, why do these rumors keep coming up about Deshaun Watson? And maybe they're not rumors. Maybe they're based in fact. Listen, this is part of the problem for the Miami Dolphins. It's Stephen Ross. And there's this one continual thread that has gone on in this organization since he's purchased the team. And that's, just seems like riffs in the organization about what direction they're headed. He throws his hat in the proverbial ring, and there seems to be some meddling. I'm not sure, obviously if you're Chris Greer, the general manager, and Brian Flores, the head coach, you're going to do what the boss tells you. But it would seemingly behoove the Dolphins to continue to try to develop Tua Tagovailoa. And if you didn't like Tua after his first year, do an Arizona Cardinals and move on, like they did with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray. The Dolphins were in prime position to pick a quarterback at number 3. They could have started over with Trey Lance, with Justin Fields. These were players who would have been available if the Dolphins had stayed at 3. Instead, we're at the position where we are now with this Dolphins team and all these Deshaun Watson rumors. And I don't know. We also don't know, is Deshaun Watson going to jail? I mean, last I heard, he was being investigated, by authorities in Houston by a grand jury. We don't have any clarity on that situation. We don't have any clarity as to whether he'd be able to play this season by the NFL, whether there'd be any sort of potential, punishment down the line for Deshaun Watson based upon the allegations by 22 different women claiming that he had either sexually assaulted them or had treated them, in some sort of, way that isn't legal or isn't right. So what a complete mess, Shane. And I know Deshaun has declared his innocence throughout all this. His attorney has as well. But it's as chaotic involving Deshaun Watson as it is right now. This Miami Dolphins team, you'd have to say, the most disappointing in the NFL so far in 2021.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple questions about Deshaun Watson. Okay, he's being paid by the Houston Texans. Does he go to practice? What does he do?
He sits around. I think if you want him for your podcast, he's available, I think 2 to 4 every day, just doing nothing.
So he doesn't even practice.
Doesn't even practice. He's a healthy scratch. He may work out with by himself around team headquarters. No one really knows what he does, to be honest with you. He just knows that every Sunday he is going to be inactive because the Houston Texans want to move on, just like he wants to move on. And by the way, there's something else to consider here too with Deshaun Watson. He has a no trade clause in his contract. So, he's got some leverage here. What if he wants his deal sweetened by the Miami Dolphins or any team that acquires him? I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but it does give him the right to block any trades to teams that he doesn't want to play for. Would you want to play for the Miami Dolphins? Are you sure Brian Flores is going to be your head coach in 2022 with the way that things are going? And do you trust that Brian Flores can build a winning program? I know this Dolphins team was 10-6 last year, fell short of the playoffs, but you look at where they are now, this string of draft busts that continue for the Miami Dolphins, free agent signings that are head scratchers. A long ways away from the Dan Marino halcyon days.
Yeah, that is bizarre to me that he's getting paid all that money. Doesn't have to go to meetings, doesn't do anything. I figured
you wish you had that job in the NFL, Shane. You wish you had it. Don't let your bitterness, resentment, and jealousy affect you on this show.
Yeah, I won't. But you would think they'd at least make the Joker go out there and run the scout team, right?
Then he gets hurt, and then you're on the hook for even more, right? So that's what it is. And honestly, having him around, Shane, think about it. You're 1-5, the Houston Texans. You have Davis Mills playing quarterback, and obviously the young man is overmatched. You know that Deshaun Watson gives you a chance to at least win some games. And if you're a veteran player, and you're a rookie player, whoever it is, you want to win. Okay, I know the Texans are rebuilding, but you want to win. Deshaun Watson gives you that best chance. If you see him there every day, and you know that Texas management will not play him, how does that make you feel as a player? It's demoralizing for you. So I think it's better out of mind, out of sight, and just try to minimize it as much as possible. The players know what's going on with Deshaun, but you get my point. It's just best for him to not be around that team if that's the way Texas management's going to be.
True. We got a couple of Facebook Live questions here for you, brought to you by Meldon Law. I'm assuming my man John here is wanting to know this information due to fantasy. He wants to know, Alex, what's the status with Christian McCaffrey and Michael Thomas of the Saints? Will they be playing anytime soon?
Anytime soon is tough. C-Mac, and I'm talking to Matt Rule tonight on my SiriusXM NFL radio show, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. And, last week when I talked to Matt, it was, we feel good about him playing this upcoming week against the New York Giants, even though he had been ruled out last week against Minnesota. Less than 24 hours later, C-Mac's going on injured reserve, which means he's out for the next 3 weeks. He is such a huge part of this Carolina Panthers offense. We're not going to see him again for about another 3 weeks. So this is tough, and the Panthers are going to have to weather the storm, and your fantasy team's going to have to weather the storm as well, John. Same thing, Michael Thomas, and this is a toughie. He is not in great standing, I think, with Saints management, with Sean Payton and company. He had an ankle problem. He tried to go through it without surgery, never told the team about it, then decides over the summer, right before the start of the season, I can't play with this, and I'm going to undergo a procedure. And it has knocked out one of the highest paid wide receivers in the game from being with the New Orleans Saints. How long will it take him to get back in the flow of things? How long will it take him to build chemistry with Jameis Winston in this offense? Those are tough questions as well. I just know that he is a couple weeks out from returning, and the big question is what happens with him when he's back. I don't think he gets traded at the trade deadline, but I can't completely dismiss that possibility either for any team that's interested, because I think the Saints, in their minds, might be moving on after this season.
We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line. I don't know who it's from. They didn't give me a name, but it says, what are Alex's Super Bowl predictions?
Gosh, I mean, look, Buffalo, despite that setback, to me is still the best team in the AFC, and Baltimore is awfully close. The Ravens have had so many injuries. Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, who I think should be a head coach, by the way, in the NFL, saying that we are the poster board for next man up. And is absolutely right. I mean, you have Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray playing like they're in their prime. So many different offensive linemen playing. Just don't necessarily trust them down the stretch to be able to overcome more injuries that are inevitable to happen. But Lamar Jackson playing great football. But I'm going with Buffalo as the team there. And despite Arizona, I still think Tampa Bay is the team to beat. And offensively, they're humming. Defensively, they can bring it. I like the Rams. I like the Rams a good amount. And I think it'll probably be the Rams and Tampa Bay playing. I don't know about Arizona. I know the 1972 Dolphins have had to keep that champagne on ice. Can't pop it open just yet until the Cardinals lose a game. Ain't happening this Sunday against Houston, maybe in Week 8 against Green Bay. But I still think it's the Rams or Bucks, probably the Bucks. So I'm looking at a Bucks-Bills Super Bowl right now.
Speaking of the Cardinals, I mean, they have to be everybody's surprise right now. The only undefeated team in the league. Last week, people may not realize, but Kingsbury, their head coach, and several other coaches didn't even coach the game due to COVID. Are you surprised at the success that they're having?
This much success. I thought this could be a 4-2 team at this point in the season. I liked some of the moves that they made in the offseason. Shane, it's weird. In free agency, most teams try to get younger. They got much older. You sign A.J. Green. You sign J.J. Watt. You trade for Rodney Hudson. I mean, these are all 30-something guys that they're adding to their team, but they have a young quarterback, Kyler Murray, in his prime. And I think that I don't think any of us really saw the type of jump that he took from year 2 to year 3. It's Josh Allen-esque in a way. No longer making plays first with his legs. In fact, Shane, I believe he's run just 14 yards over the past 2 games. Instead, he's much more comfortable staying back, letting plays unfold, and throwing the football, and he has a plethora of weapons to be able to go to. J.J. Watt showing great signs of life. They've moved him out now to defensive end. He is so comfortable. They can still bump him into the interior of the line to wreak some havoc, but he's so much better on the edge for this Cardinals team. And Isaiah Simmons is playing great. They have a wealth of talent. I mean, they have been the surprise. And I'm thinking the AFC, Cincinnati. And I'm still waiting for the Bengals to come crashing back to earth. And I will say same old Bengals. But, they pushed Green Bay to the limit a couple weeks ago at home. You wonder about the letdown game last week against Detroit, whether they would just be down on themselves or just be looking ahead to this Sunday's game against Baltimore. Instead, they absolutely demolished the Detroit Lions. I know not a great accomplishment, but still, you win in this league, you're happy with it. I think, again, we're going to see how much better the Bengals are against the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, 5-0 against Cincinnati, has rushed for at least 97 yards in each of those contests. Do the Bengals finally have an answer for him with their improved defensive line?
John has he says, could we see a Dallas-Buffalo rematch in the Super Bowl from back in the 90s? Do the Cowboys, I mean, they are so explosive on offense. Do you put them in that mix where they could make some noise in the NFC?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, they already are. I mean, Dak Prescott, MVP candidate, right? No quarterback better on third down, by the way, than him. I mean, he is the highest rated quarterback in the NFL when it comes to third down passing, and a ton of weapons. And it's not just the mainstream guys. It's not just the Zeke Elliott's, the Amari Coopers, the CeeDee Lambs. It's guys like Cedric Wilson, like the Bingham Baller, Dalton Schultz, players, Tony Pollard coming off the bench. I mean, Shane, they have a pair and a spare, as my radio partner Gil Brandt would say, in Dallas on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line still concerns you a little bit, but, again, some of the backup players have done a nice job, and they're getting Lyle Collins back from a suspension as well. Can the defense hold up? I think that's what some folks are wondering as well, but so far, so good. Dan Quinn's done a great job. Give the Cowboys personnel, group a lot of credit as well for keeping this roster strong. It's a very dangerous Dallas team. And the one thing that benefits them, playing in such a terrible division, if they are able to run the table, if they go 6-0 in that NFC East and potentially get that home field advantage during the postseason, that could be a huge lift for the Cowboys' Super Bowl chances.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're in a bad division. We're speaking with Alex Marvez. You can follow him on Twitter at Alex Marvez. We got a text on the Titan Mar text line from Frank. He wants to know, Alex, who will be Las Vegas head coach next year?
Still up in the air. And, I can't discount the possibility of Rich Bisaccia keeping the position if he can keep his staff intact, because right now they're 1-0. They beat the Denver Broncos. They beat them convincingly after everyone was writing the Raiders off, and he got his team to respond. I really can't dismiss that possibility of them sticking with an interim coach. It's tough, though, too. Let's see down the stretch. How does Mark Davis feel about Mike Mayock, who was the handpicked general manager by John Gruden to come in and handle the personnel decisions? Does he want him to be involved, or is he expendable? And then at that point, you're going to hand over both the head coaching and personnel responsibilities to one person. Is this what Mark Davis wants? It's really too early for me to tell. I know odds makers have Eric Bieniemy out there. It's very easy to just throw names against the wall and hope that something sticks. I'm not going to do that. I think there's still too much of a season to be played. Let's not forget, too, you have another potential head coach on this team already in Gus Bradley, who has led to tremendous improvement on that defensive side of the football. The Raiders have the only team in the league with two players with more than 30 pressures each in Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue. So I just would say that, this one remains to be seen on the Raiders, but let's see if they can keep the momentum rolling in the post-John Gruden era.
We got another text here on the Titan Mar text line from Sheila. Sheila wants to know, Alex, what is the perception of Urban Meyer in the NFL around the league?
Not good. And, it's the losing. It's the mistakes that he's made along the way. I think some hubris when it came to Urban not listening when people were trying to tell him that things are different in the NFL than in college. The Jaguars already docked 2 OTA days for next year. They won't be able to practice because he didn't follow the NFL rules. We know the embarrassment that came with hiring an Iowa strength coach to work on his staff, who came from, very controversial end with the Hawkeyes, how that blew up in the Jaguars' face. The Tim Tebow signing, a lot of folks laughed at. Why are you signing a player who, quite honestly, as it turned out, really didn't have any business being in an NFL locker room other than the head coach being his friend and neighbor. Oh, and then you throw in the fact that he didn't fly back with his team after the loss to Cincinnati and everything that happened at the bar up in Ohio. Not great, but I will say this, his team didn't quit on him. You saw it against the Miami Dolphins. They went out and won a game. So I think that there's still hope for Urban to turn it around. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some staff changes made at the end of the season. And also, too, he's got to really define who are his guys on this roster. You saw them changing out some of the talent already this offseason. I think it's going to continue in 2022. Jags fans, I'm sorry, it's going to take a little bit of time for this team to get better, but at least you see some progress from Trevor Lawrence along the way.
Yeah. All right, John's got a question here on Facebook Live before we let you go here in a minute, Alex. This is a tremendous question, and I don't know if you can give me the answer. He wants to know, give us the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League that are playing right now.
Top 5? Well, I mean, we start with Kyler Murray. I think he's got to be in the conversation. This is a great question, and here's why. Shane, and I asked you this, and I'm not trying to turn it on you, and I'm not trying to buy time to answer the question, but have we seen a level of quarterbacking like this in the NFL in some time? Because I saw, someone posting quarterback ratings and things like that earlier this week, and I have a hard time narrowing it to 5 because inevitably I'm going to leave somebody off. I have not seen the quarterbacking play in this league at this high a level, maybe since the 90s when we still had Elway, since we still had Marino. We just had those future Hall of Famers that were still going strong. Steve Young. I mean, have you? Because I think that the position.
No, it's crazy. And, I always ask the question, people ask me, and I was going to ask you as well, out of all the young quarterbacks in this league right now, and even older guys, if you were to start a brand new franchise and they said, okay, you get to pick whoever you want, money's not an issue, this is my quarterback I want to start my team with, who would Alex Marvez choose?
It would be Patrick Mahomes, and I say that because of the confidence. I say that because of the athletic ability to make every throw that there is. I just feel like, and he's someone who doesn't flinch. I mean, Shane, it's interesting. Last week at halftime against Washington, the guy's struggling, right? He's got a couple more interceptions, and his teammates come up to him and just say, just keep being you, because they don't worry about him. And you look at the third down conversions. This team had 11 third down conversions last week against the Washington football team. He makes it on the money downs. He can get the ball to places that maybe no other quarterback beside Josh Allen can. He's got a Super Bowl win. He shows up in big games. I think Patrick Mahomes is that guy. Of course, he's being paid accordingly by Kansas City. Josh Allen nipping at his heels. Justin Herbert, someone else too, a little bit younger, someone who is averaging almost 300 passing yards a game during his NFL career, although as evidenced by his performance last week against Baltimore, still some room to grow, but he's fantastic. I mean, this is so much fun, for teams, right now, seeing this great quarterbacking that we have, the way that NFL offenses have evolved to take advantage of their strengths. Of course, the rules have changed as well to make it a very pass-friendly type of league. But no, Shane, I think it's an incredible time for quarterbacking, and I don't think we can limit it to just 5 because everyone is so close among those names that I mentioned.
Yeah, John just chimed in. He goes, "Come on, Alex, we need a top 5."
Tom Brady, how do I leave Brady out of a top 5? Yeah. How do I leave Aaron Rodgers out of a top 5? That's the whole thing with these names. It's incredible. And Brady, by the way, the most passing yards in the NFL, and I know records are going to be broken this year. We have a 17-game season. It's an extra game, but you're talking about someone who may end up hitting 5,600 passing yards along the way. 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Can't leave him off the list. How about Aaron Rodgers? He still owns the Chicago Bears. Forget about the McCaskies. And Virginia Hallis and all those folks. Nope. This is Aaron Rodgers. I can't do it. John, I give up. That's it. I'm fired. I'm not picking up my paycheck for being on the show.
Yeah, it's so hard. I agree with you. I mean, God, there's so many good young ones. That's what I like. And, all those Miami Dolphin fans are going to sit there. If Justin Herbert continues playing the way he's playing, they're going to say, why in the hell did we not pick him?
Bad talent evaluation. Heck, I mean, think about this too. You might have to see Justin Herbert, and then you're going to be playing against Mac Jones twice a year, right? A guy that was Tua's backup. It's someone who now is playing for the Patriots and is on pace to set a rookie record for completion percentage. Listen, I know a lot of it's dink and dunk for the Patriots, but you got to respect what this young man has accomplished running a very complex system that Josh McDaniels has up in New England. And you're so right. And again, just so frustrating for Dolphins fans right now. It looks like they got it wrong when they took Tua Tagovailoa ahead of Justin Herbert.
Last question. Who right now, I guess through 6 games, who's your MVP of the National Football League?
Wow. This is a toughie. It's probably the king, Derrick Henry. Because 743 rushing yards through 6 games, 3 straight games with 3 touchdowns and 125 rushing yards. You're talking Jim Brown type stats. And listen, Tennessee has some quality offensive players, but they've given up the most sacks in football heading into that Monday night game against Buffalo. Julio Jones has been hurt. He looks like he's sort of winding down as a player. A.J. Brown hasn't been himself. He went to Chipotle and got sick and still can't keep food down. And yet here's Derrick Henry, unstoppable by the Buffalo Bills, which entered the game as the NFL's number 1 run defense. I think the king is right there at number 1. I think Kyler Murray would be number 2 as a runner-up, a strong runner-up. I can't dismiss Matthew Stafford, although it's weird because now we have a problem too, Shane. I think just as tough as this player of the year is the comeback player of the year, because Dak Prescott is an easy choice, but think about what Matthew Stafford had to come back from. 12 seasons with the Detroit Lions and the mental, psychological, and emotional damage that has caused him, that he has rebounded from since being acquired by the Rams. And how about this? Jared Goff against Matthew Stafford on Sunday. Detroit and the Rams. This stat blew my mind. Jared Goff has not won an NFL game without Sean McVay as his head coach. He was 0-7 under Jeff Fisher as a rookie, and then he has yet to win a game under Dan Campbell, 0-6 in Detroit.
Wow.
Every other victory has come with Sean McVay on the sideline feeding him plays in his helmet.
That is a crazy stat. That's good stuff. Alex, let everybody know how they can listen to you.
SiriusXM NFL Radio. I'm on Tuesday nights, Friday nights with the Godfather Gil Brandt, Saturday mornings 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. with Tim Brown. Sunday mornings, very early, way too early, especially after a Gator game, 7 to 9 a.m. with Brad Hopkins on the Sunday kickoff, SiriusXM NFL Radio, Channel 88. And, of course, check out All Elite Wrestling. I'll be headed to Orlando in a little bit, Shane. We're going to be live coming up Saturday night, 8 to 10 o'clock Eastern Time on TNT for Dynamite tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Epic episode of Rampage. Andrade El Idolo against Pac, one of the best matches in the world, going to be headlining our show.
That's good stuff, my man. We appreciate you taking the time. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, Alex.
Go Gator, Shane. Be good, my friend.
Yeah, that's Alex Marvez. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take our first time out, come back. We'll be joined by JC. We'll do our Peachland Dentistry weekend picks. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews and more.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Prime and Pearl, Regal Cinemas, Medici, Dave Buster's, Skechers in the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll make your reservations today at spurriers.com. And now open Thursday through Saturday, Visors Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to head to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by JC on one of his adventures. Good morning, JC. How are you?
I'm on an adventure, yes. 24th floor of the Beau Rivage in Biloxi, Mississippi. Doing great. It is a spectacular place. We've got a glorious panoramic view of the beautiful, beautiful metropolitan area of Biloxi and Ocean Springs, Mississippi, of which I'm sure you are quite familiar. We went through beautiful Pascagoula, Mississippi, where the Moss Point Tigers were having a pep rally as we drove through. So, I mean, it's just a happening place, QB. I'm sure you miss it.
Well, JC, if you want some good action, I would go check out a Friday night high school football game in the state of Mississippi. There ain't nothing like it.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So it's great. My wife and I have a wedding to attend tomorrow. Somebody decided to get married in October.
Oh.
But that's okay. That's just what they do. And, you know, we've got some pretty good games to think about this weekend while the Gators are off preparing. You know, something I heard yesterday about the Florida Gators, QB, was that, and I was driving over here to the satellite radio. Florida's got something like an average of almost, and I don't know if this is right, you'll have to cross-reference this, but they almost average 500. Is this true that they almost average 500 yards of offense right now?
Yeah, it's probably about accurate.
And so when you think about last week's game, they scored all those points, and you think about the game that they lost to Kentucky, you take away some of these mistakes, like the false starts, like the turnovers. You just try to eliminate half of that or eliminate some of that. Offensively, this team is getting it done. I mean, they are producing yardage. They are producing points. I mean, last week you lost the game scoring 40-something points. And, if you can just eliminate these mistakes, this would have such a different outlook right now.
Well, last week it wasn't penalties because we didn't have one penalty the entire game. But the offense gave up 21 points. See, people fail to remember that 3 interceptions turned into 21 points of the 49 that LSU scored. So, no, I agree. Yeah. I mean, and I seriously think they need to look at some changes personnel-wise on defense. John says here on Facebook Live, ban fall weddings, start the movement.
Well, this might come as a shock to you and me and John and all of us like-minded types of folks. There are many in the world that just don't care about football.
No.
Football is not, college football is not at the forefront of their mind, if you could hardly imagine that. But, so, look, it's a great place to be, though, nevertheless, and I'm going to take advantage of being here and enjoying myself as much as possible, and it's going to be a great time. So we're going to watch some games tomorrow and get ready for another big week. Now, I noticed on the board this weekend as I was downstairs in the Beau Rivage Sportsbook, which, by the way, at the Beau Rivage and in Mississippi, there is no masking indoors. They do not have shields on the blackjack tables or the crap tables to try to segregate you from the other players. Life is about as normal as you could imagine here in Mississippi. The only requirement is that they ask if you have not been vaccinated, wear a mask. If you have been vaccinated, they don't care. And it seems like everybody in Mississippi has been vaccinated because I didn't see any masks last night except from the employees, and that's an optional thing that I think MGM has offered. So it felt really great walking down there last night, and I looked up on the board, and I saw that I don't believe, looking at many of these games or hardly, the ones we're going to pick, there is a top 25 matchup in college football. There's you've got Tennessee and Alabama. That's not a top 25 matchup. LSU and Mississippi is not a top 25 matchup. Oklahoma State and Iowa State's not. Clemson and Pittsburgh, I don't know if that is. I don't think it is. USC and Notre Dame is not. Oregon and UCLA, I don't think that is. So I looked at some of these games and I noticed that, there's some good games on here, but I don't see two teams that are ranked playing each other. And I could be looking at that wrong, but I just kind of noticed that last night looking at some of the matchups.
Rick says you're going to bring back more COVID to Gainesville.
Rick.
So JC, before we jump into it, we got a bunch of people chiming in here about the Gators can only recruit out of the portal. Who are we going to sign? We have signed some decent players out of the portal, but that's been the talk about recruiting all week long. Did you see where this weekend in Oxford, they're retiring Eli Manning's jersey? They've painted both end zones say Manning, and little do we know that Arch Manning, the 2022 quarterback, is going to be there as well. So you think Ole Miss is trying to get him to commit to the? I don't see him being a rebel though. I really don't.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is Cooper's son, right? Arch Manning. Is that right?
Yes.
So Cooper, and we all know that Cooper is I think the oldest of the three, and he did not play college football because of an injury that he sustained that they were fearful of getting worse if he were to play or continue to play. And he was a good ball player in high school. So obviously, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree athletically, and this kid's going to be a quarterback somewhere here in the SEC. And, there's, 4 or 5 schools that really have the upper hand on everyone else. And who knows? I mean, sure, they're going to put the full court press on Arch. But, to me, I'm more really concerned about what's the status of Matt Corral. Matt Corral had an unbelievable game last week. Now, QB, think about this. He ran the ball. He ran the football 30-something times. had over 100 and some odd yards, 50 yards, something crazy like that. Still passed for I don't know how many. If there is a definition of a guy who should win the Heisman Trophy with that little move they use with their left hand, holding the ball with the right and kicking the leg up, it would be this guy. I mean, he would be the guy on that. What's that? What? What's that?
Don't move around there, JC, because you got bad service. Okay, you're back. We were losing you. At least I was losing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Corral had way too many rushes last week. Only about 6 of them were called runs. The rest of them, he scrambled around. I got a Facebook Live here I need to read from Maria. She says, brought to you by Metal Law, we need to recruit better, get a defensive coach, and start Richardson. Okay, I agree with all that. However, if you want to start Richardson, you need to ask to start some new defensive players as well. Like I said, everybody wants to blame the coach. I get it. But our players just ain't playing up to par. They get blocked so easy, it's ridiculous. So anyway, Buck asked here on Facebook Live, Shane, what do you think about DJ Durkin coming back to lead the defense next season? I mean, maybe. Again, I understand where everybody's going with this, but we need better players on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to leave it at that. You there, JC?
I'm listening. I'm listening. And I think that,
Marissa wants to know what defensive players I want to see play. I don't know. I don't know enough about our roster. All I know is people talk about if this guy, because all people do is watch the football, right? The average fan watches the football during a game. Yeah. So obviously the quarterback touches the football every play. So people are going to make their assessments whether that guy's playing worth a darn, this guy should be playing, that guy should be playing. Okay, just because a team runs for a bunch of yards or has a big play, they want to blame the coach. Well, my point is, go make a play. Get off a double team. Shed a blocker. Make a tackle. I don't know who needs to play, but my point is, if you want to make a change here, maybe we need to look here and make a change as well. So, let's see. I wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know if you followed it or heard anything about the whole Jeremy Pruitt deal with Tennessee right now. Are you familiar with it? It's going to be a big lawsuit.
Yeah, it's going to be a big lawsuit. Get lawyers involved. I'd stay away from all that nonsense. I think the longer Tennessee holds out, eventually this NCAA scrutiny kind of wears away. Andy Staples had a nice piece about it in the Athletic, but Jeremy Pruitt is yesterday's news right now, and Tennessee is trying to figure out how to stay within shouting distance of Alabama. That rivalry, it's been 5,480 days. 5,000. Alabama fans have this little countdown, this little running clock they have on Tennessee since they last lost to Tennessee. 5,480 days. So
that's a long time.
This rivalry has gone lopsided. We have 10 teams right now that are undefeated in college football. We have a couple of teams who have yet to win a game in college football. One played last night and lost. That would be Vegas. They lost to San Jose State at home. SMU holds out hope that somebody can play with Cincinnati left on that schedule. Beating Tulane, scoring 55 points last night. So they're a capable team. I was watching some of that last night, but really tomorrow there's just, another Saturday to get through, and it's great to have. And even though we don't have any top 25 matchups, we've still got teams playing and some teams that should be on upset alert. I mean, this thing with Matt Corral, if he doesn't play, what's that going to mean to Ole Miss? And Ole Miss could easily be 11-1. They could still go 11-1, Mississippi kid. So that's a Sugar Bowl bid if Alabama runs it out. So that's a Sugar Bowl bid for Ole Miss. That's a big deal. So I there's a lot to watch still with college football.
While you were talking, I was looking at some of the Facebook Lives. People talking about the defensive players, how some of the defensive players have questioned the scheme. Look, people, I get all that, but defense is about effort and making plays. Don't get blocked. I don't care what scheme it is. And that's where, players can blame this, blame that. If you go and watch how we just look like Velcro. That's my point here. And that's why if this guy, whether he likes a scheme or not, it's still his responsibility. Go make a play. Defense ain't real hard. I mean, you have to think a little bit, but it's more reaction. Go tackle the guy with the football. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah, QB Gator fans just want to watch their defense travel more, and that was the best.
You want to what?
Well, the defense travels, right? And that's the kind of thing Florida fans, I think, are frustrated about.
No, what I'm saying, though, is, penetration causes problems in the backfield, okay? That ain't got to do with scheme. It's about beat the man, or if I'm supposed to go in that gap, get through that gap where somebody can block me. So I understand where people are frustrated, but I think people are frustrated and blaming. It goes both ways is what I'm trying to say, okay? So I don't know who needs to play. I'm just saying from what I've seen, guys are getting blocked, and they don't give great effort. And then I've had people tell me, well, if they're not giving great effort, that means they don't like their coach. Let me tell you something. If you plan to ever take your game to the next level, that's an audition. That's a job interview every play you have. So do you think any NFL player or coach or scout that watches a game is sitting here going to complain about a scheme of a coach? No, they're going to see how you play every play, what kind of effort you give. Are you getting blocked every play? Okay, then you ain't got a chance to play at the next level. So that's what drives me insane when people talk about this. Joseph says, Shane, as an ex-coach, you should know the effects of when your team buys into what you're selling versus when they – look, every team I played on, if you didn't give great effort and try, your ass did not play. It's that simple. I don't care who you are. So anyway, what were you going to say, JC, before I went off on a tangent?
Well, I mean, folks are frustrated, QB. I get it. They want their players to play harder. Players have to make a decision. It's a business decision. Do you want to extend your career, or do you want to just be a college kid that kind of drifts off into the moonlight?
But what these kids don't understand is if they aren't, I blame the Florida coaches for playing them if they're not giving great effort. But if you're not giving great effort, you have zero chance to even go to a training camp in the National Football League, because those are the best players in the world, and they're going to take the best players in the world. And that's why it drives me crazy when kids say, we let this game slip away. We weren't ready to play. You only suit up for 12 games in the entire year. That's guaranteed. Right? 12 times in 365 days. So anyway.
What do you think is going to happen in Georgia? You think the effort's going to change? You think if the effort did change, you think it's going to matter? I mean, there's a lot of things.
Georgia's better. Like I told you, I think we have one player that could start for Georgia, Kyrie Elam. That's the only player on the 20 out of the starting 22. And that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. You have your opinion. All our listeners have their opinions. I'm just going by what I see. So anyway, JC, what time is it? Oh, gosh, we got to do our picks. I got off on a tangent. It's time for the Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. All right, we both stink. What did I say our overall record was? 38-42, I think.
Well, are we tied with the same record?
Yes, we both are 38-42.
All right, well, let's turn this frown upside down and change things. I like some of these games a lot, QB, and I'm glad I'm at the Beau Rivage. It starts with Wake Forest at Army, wishbone offense, undefeated team. I'm taking Wake Forest. They are laying 3 points on the banks of the Hudson. Who do you got?
Are you serious? That's all it is?
That's it. 3. I mean, Army, covered against Wisconsin last week at Wisconsin. They threw, I think, 2 forward passes the entire game, QB.
All right. Something don't sound right. I'm taking the Cadets.
Okay.
In the upset.
That Army. How about Wisconsin at Purdue? Purdue is still in the running to win the West. They win the tiebreaker against Iowa. They only have 1 loss. Purdue is getting 3.5 against a very anemic team, in my opinion, in Wisconsin. And I'm taking the home team. Give me Purdue.
What is the line?
3.5. They're getting 3.5 plus 3.5.
Oh, yeah. Give me the Boilers because they can throw the rock.
Okay, we've got UCLA at home against the Ducks. This is a scary game for Oregon. Oregon still has everything out in front of itself. If they were to go 11-1, I don't know how realistic that is. But Oregon is getting 1 point from UCLA. That tells you what the street thinks of Oregon. Lots of injuries there. I'm taking UCLA in Hollywood. They're going to beat Oregon, I think.
Yeah, I'm taking UCLA at home as well.
All right, we've got Clemson at Pittsburgh. Before the season started, this looked like it could be a really, really tough game for Pitt. You know, the Clemson Tigers coming in town. They've never played at Pittsburgh. They've never played at Pitt, which is hard to believe. But Pittsburgh is laying 3 points at home against Clemson, and I'm taking Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Panthers. It's only 3.
Yep, they can score. I like Pitt as well.
Okay, Oklahoma State is at Iowa State. Oklahoma State is catching 7. They are an undefeated team, one of the 10 that I mentioned. They are catching 7 points at Iowa State, and I like them. I'm going to take Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Oklahoma State keeps winning. I took them last week against Texas, and they won the game. That line makes no sense to me at all.
Right. So this is kind of what I'm seeing here. USC is at Notre Dame. SC is a mess. Notre Dame has still only got 1 loss. I'm going to take Notre Dame. Give them. They are laying 7 points. I'm
going to take the Trojans.
Okay. We've got NC State down in Miami, and Miami is only getting 3.5. I think NC State beats them in every metric. I don't know how they are only laying 3.5, but I'm going to take that too. Give me NC State.
I'll take the Wolfpack, although it makes no sense. It wouldn't surprise me, since the people out west what Corso likes to say, the folks out west must know something.
Okay. Well, we'll see. They'll know when NC State wins by 20. LSU at Mississippi. Ole Miss is laying 9. I don't know if Corral plays or not. Even if he does, he can't be 100%. There's no way. LSU got a little momentum going. They're going to run the ball, keep the clock running. I'm going to take the 9 points with LSU at Mississippi.
I like LSU too. If Corral's he's not going to be 100%. Look, I don't think LSU's a very good football team, but I don't think Ole Miss can stop the run. And if LSU blocks them like they blocked us, this game could get dicey.
Look, Mississippi State at Vandy. Vandy's getting 20 at home.
Oh, my gosh. I'll take Mississippi State because, Vandy moved it on us, but they couldn't score. So who you want?
How about that? Vandy. Yeah, I'm going to take Mississippi State. I'll never pick Vandy. Alabama is laying 25.5. Tennessee, a big emotional game last weekend, a very physical game. I don't know if they've got anything in the tank. They could keep it close for 1 or 2 quarters. The second half, I think Alabama runs away from them, and I'll take Alabama. It's a lot, but I'll take it. This is
going to be a bloodbath.
Okay.
I got Alabama huge.
Here's another blowout in the SEC. Some real quality games this week in the SEC. Texas A&M is laying 19.5 to a graduate assistant and a South Carolina team that had to literally pull it out at the last minute against Vanderbilt at home last week. I think Texas A&M wins by 30.
Where's this game at?
It's at College Station.
Yeah, that went big. A&M's going to end the season and going to be kicking themselves, beating their heads against the wall that they lost to Mississippi State.
And Arkansas.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So, that's their opportunities were missed.
Oh, they got 3 losses. I kept thinking they only had 2 losses. You're right.
So
your team lost to a team that's lost 3 times, JC.
They played it was a lifetime game of their lives that night. Let's face it, Calzada had the game of his career. And I've said this, when you beat Alabama, your quarterback has to have the greatest game of his career. And it happened.
All right, JC, how many more games? We only got like a minute left. How many more games?
2 more NFL games. Cincinnati at Baltimore, Ravens minus 6.5.
I know you're going to take the Ravens. I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals just to be different.
I took the Cincinnati Bengals, and then the Bears at Tampa.
I'll take the Ravens then, just to be different.
Bears, all right, Bears at Bucks. Bucks minus 12.5.
Who you want?
I'm going to take Chicago getting 12.5. You take Tampa.
Well, okay. All right. There we have it.
There you go. That's it. You got them.
All right, JC, win a lot of money. Enjoy your weekend trip. I'm sure you'll be having some new wardrobes, different bandwagon shirts when you come back into town. But we're going to wrap up today's show. Be safe, my man.
All right. We'll see you Monday.
All right, folks. We want to thank Alex Marvez for joining the program. Also, JC, time went by way too fast. But enjoy your weekend, your bye week. And we will see you on Monday. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Stop. Take care.